All right. Well, a very similar forecast from yesterday is expected as we continue to talk about our mostly dry and rain free conditions throughout the state of South Carolina. Temperatures will continue to warm as we go throughout the week, and then potentially that rain chance will move in as we get into this weekend as a frontal system will approach us. I'm your meteorologist, Joseph Peterson, and let's go on and talk about the weather for your Tuesday evening going into your future. Starting off, what is going on currently? Well, right now, it's looking like that we are nice and dry. We're not seeing any sort of rainfall right now throughout the entire state of South Carolina, which is not necessarily a good thing, but also not necessarily a bad thing either. Now, if we go in and see what's going on throughout the entire U.S., we see some rainfall going on up here in the Northeast, New York, going on in Ohio, going on in Indiana. Also having some rainfall over here in the western parts of Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, even some rainfall over here inside of the Four Corners area. And look over here in the west, we see rainfall from Washington State down through California, with even some snow going on in the higher, more upper elevations. Now, what's going on in terms of our cloud cover? Cloud cover is starting to move in a little bit from the west. We're starting to see some scattered clouds maybe up there inside the northern parts of the state as well, but definitely not the brute force of the cloud cover yet. And if we go on and look at that cloud cover for the future, remember the blue is the cloud cover. If we go on and push this forward, this goes all the way to 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock, going all the way to 6 o'clock in the morning. And we're starting to see cloud cover really starting to get going as we get into tomorrow morning. We get into tomorrow afternoon, and now we're talking about cloud cover moving its way out of the state by the time we get into tomorrow night. This goes all the way into Thursday morning, where we're talking about nice clear conditions, even going into a Thursday afternoon, nice clear conditions. Now, our current temperatures right now 59 Somerville, 63 Charleston, 65 Beaufort, 61 Orangeburg, 56 Conway, 61 inside of Murrells Inlet, Myrtle Beach, 59 Georgetown. And so we're seeing that theme of high 50s, low 60s, even 61 in Greenville, 60 Spartanburg, 61 in Columbia, 58 in York. And if we go in and look at that air quality, we for the most part are looking at good condition for tonight. But if you're in the yellow areas, Myrtle Beach, Augusta, over there in the western low country, moderate risk, which is not necessarily too bad, but it's not necessarily that great either. Just watch if you're going to be out for a long period of time tonight, and just make sure you're keeping an attention on the air quality. Now for low temperatures for tonight. Looking like we're going to be more inside the upper 40s, lower 50s, and in the coastal areas will be kind of in the 60s with 51 in Greenville, 49 inside of Spartanburg, and even 51 in Orangeburg, 49 in Rock Hill, 48 Florence, 57 Myrtle Beach, 53 Georgetown, 60s from Charleston down into Hilton Head Island. And then high temperatures for tomorrow, 80s are making a return. We're talking about mid 80s from Columbia to Camden, down into maybe Sumter, Florence, up in the upstate, 83 from Anderson through Greenville, Spartanburg, Rock Hill, Moncks Corner, 78 near the coastal areas of Charleston, Hilton Head Island, and maybe even near 80 degrees near Georgetown. Now, what about for our rainfall? Rainfall is not expected as we go throughout the next 24 hours, so we are good here. Do not expect any sort of rainfall as we continue throughout tomorrow, going into tomorrow night. Now, for the crazy score, unfortunately, the thing that I used to make the crazy score is down right now, so there was not a new one tonight. But if I was to make one just on the fly, I definitely would have it probably where it is right now, around a 15. Really just because the cloudy conditions are starting to move through. Not really too breezy, and, conditions are pretty calm. It's just cloud cover moving in, so I kind of have it, like it where it is right now at a 15. SPC outlook for tonight. Thunderstorms are not expected for tonight, so we don't have to worry about anything there. Same thing for tomorrow and for Thursday. Now, what about for fire weather? Obviously, we know that fire weather conditions are going on throughout the state right now. And should not be a shock, especially since we have the statewide burn ban in effect right now. But the SPC outlook does not necessarily explicitly say or explicitly show that there is an elevated or critical or extremely critical fire weather risk inside of the state for tonight. Now that does change as we go into tomorrow, as we go in and look at this. This is for Wednesday, April the 22nd, 2026. We're talking about elevated fire weather concerns as we go into tomorrow. That includes the upstate, that includes the Midlands, that includes the PD areas as well, maybe a little bit of the Grand Strand area. And so we're talking about elevated fire conditions through tomorrow. So make sure that you are aware, make sure that you're not burning anything statewide. Doesn't matter if you're in the orange or not. There's a burn ban, it's illegal to do so. So just do not burn anything as we go into, until further notice, pretty much. Now for excessive rainfall, nothing here, so we are good to go. And then in terms of the models, time is at the bottom part of your screen. Make sure that you go in and pay attention to that, as that is very, very important to do so, because if you lose track, it's going to be kind of hard to see. But as we continue through into tomorrow morning, we're getting to tomorrow afternoon, still dry conditions continue all the way through Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon, still dry conditions remain. So we are continuing to just see this dry conditions and the potential extension of not only the drought, but also for the fire weather concerns, just due to the fact that we're not seeing any precipitation right now throughout the state for the next 48 hours. Now, if we go in and look at the GFS, this is the long-term models. So we're going to start this off here Thursday at 2 o'clock p.m., 48 hours out into the future. And just as we go in and push this forward through Friday, going into Friday afternoon, Friday night, no rainfall going through. It's not until we get into around Saturday morning, maybe Saturday afternoon, that we finally start to see some moisture start to push its way east over inside of the state of South Carolina. And here by around 11 o'clock in the morning, I know that it's a bit far, and it probably won't be 11 a.m. exactly, but you're starting to see some of that moisture really start to get going, especially as you get into the afternoon hours, and as you get into around the nighttime hours. Now, as you continue on through Saturday night, going into Sunday, Sunday comes along and you still see some moisture here and there, but it's nothing too intense, nothing that's going to really bust this drought and to really get it out of here. We get into Monday, this is now next week, and we have some more beneficial rainfall starting to move through. I really do think that our rainfall as we get into next week will probably be more beneficial for us than in terms of this weekend. I think once we get into next week, that's when we're going to start seeing a lot more of that good rainfall moving. Look at Tuesday, going into Tuesday morning. We're starting to see some heavy, moderate to heavy precipitation potentially trying to move through as we get into Tuesday. And then as you continue your way east even more rainfall again right on after that, going through Thursday. So when I say active conditions are going to continue as we go into next week, going into next weekend or so, it's not only just me just saying that. The models are saying it. And when I also say that we probably will get more rainfall next week than we will this weekend, I'm not the only one saying that. The models are saying it as well. Now, as you get all the way through Thursday, going into Friday, you have some more rainfall kind of pushing its way down towards the south. But this now goes more into This goes more into May here, to where we may see a little bit of a little dry contrast starting to move its way through. And when I say dry contrast, I mean just another dry period or so. But as you go all the way through Wednesday, going into Thursday, you may start to see some more rainfall. So beneficial rainfall is on the way. Beneficial rainfall is on the way. Don't be obviously thinking that, oh, well, I guess we're just not going to see rainfall again at this point. No, we're going to see some next week. And I do think that it really will help us out. Now, when will we be able to check and see how much it will? We won't be able to see until next week, Thursday, because that's when the drought monitor does update. Speaking of Thursday evening, make sure that you're there for that, for the drought monitor. I'm really interested to see what they have us for on the drought monitor as we go into Thursday. So we'll see what happens there. So let's go on now and look at the temperatures, because obviously rainfall-wise, we know rainfall's on the way. We know that this week is probably going to be one of our last dry weeks that we have. So make sure if you have anything to get done outside, any work, any sort of just anything in general that you have to do outside this week, make sure you get it done now before the active conditions start to really get going. Now, as we go into our temperatures, obviously, we're talking about anomalies, and I said at the beginning that our temperatures are going to start to warm up, and I was not joking about that. That's still going to happen as we're going to be 5 to 10 degrees above average as we get more into Wednesday. We get into Thursday, we're still talking about 10, 15 degrees above average. Friday comes along going into Saturday, 10 to 15 degrees above average. We go all the way into Saturday going into Sunday, and now we're talking about a bit more cooler conditions starting to get on throughout the state as we get more into this weekend. That's due to a front that's going to move through, bring us some cooler conditions as we go into the beginning parts of next week. And then maybe even another little front trying to move through as we go towards the mid part of the week, potentially. I'm just looking at the pattern here. We'll look at the dew points and see what's going on. But a bit of a cooler week next week could definitely be in store. So if you're a warm weather fan, it may not be the best thing to hear, but it is what the models are showing right now. Now, as we get through Friday of next week, going into next weekend, again, 10, 15, 20 degrees below average as we get into not next weekend, but the weekend after. So we're going to continue to look out for that and just see what happens. Now, what about for our actual temperatures? Well, actual temperatures as we go into tonight, going into tomorrow, we're talking about temperatures up into the 80s. We're talking about some more high 80s, potentially going into Thursday, Friday as well. Then we get into Saturday. We're getting close to 90 on Saturday. Sunday comes along, and Sunday doesn't bring us too much into like the 80 realm, especially throughout the entire state. We're talking about some 60s near on Sunday, still seeing 70s for the most part, and a lot of good 80s are still going on by the time we get through Sunday. And then by the time we get into Monday, going into Tuesday, we're starting to see some more 80s start to pile in as we get into next week. So that cold air will try to move through, but now that we're getting so much more closer in the summertime, those cold air blasts aren't going to last so long as they would during the wintertime. Still some 80s though as you get into next week, and definitely a little bit more of a cool down as we get more into the end of the week next week potentially. And then everything else, we're going to have to really just look at the ensembles for, because the ensembles really do show the full picture on a more average base, a more mean base, because it puts all the members together and kind of just shoves them together like that. And one thing that I will say is that as we continue through, it has us still staying pretty warm, even as we go towards the end parts of next week. But it does have a little bit of a cool down. I definitely can see temperatures not being as high as they would be than earlier during the week. So definitely a bit of a cool down as we get into the end parts of next week is definitely possible. And maybe a little bit of a warm up as we get more and more into the week after next week. Again, so just that continued flip-flop of weather, that flip-flop of temperatures continues for us as we continue throughout the next 300 to 400 hours. Now, what about the European? The European ensemble, this one, we don't really show too much over here, but, we can go in and show it right now. The European ensemble, for the most part, kind of just has us staying near that 70-80 range as we continue throughout. But it does kind of agree with the GEFS saying that as we get more into the week after, going into the end parts of next week, it still has us showing a bit of a cool down there. And that's all that I really have to say here for the long-term future here. Let me see, I don't think I have really anything too much. I do want to show one thing real quick before we go in and talk about talk with the audience, and that's just the pattern and what's going on for the future. We haven't looked at it in a hot minute, so I just decided let's go in and look at it real quick. But I will say that for right now, we are kind of taking a bit more of a neutral, more nice weather, more of like a nice weather time period right now. But as we go in and look, this goes all the way through into the 22nd here. This goes into tomorrow, and you can definitely see that ridge that we had, that frontal system that we have is now moving over towards the east. And now you have this ridge coming in from the west. That's going to bring us some very nice conditions, obviously. But look at this. As we get more into the 24th, going into the 25th, that goes into this weekend, you definitely do see this low pressure over here that's going to continue to move its way east. That's what's going to bring us our little frontal system. And then as we go through the 27th, going throughout the 28th, look at this system that we have up here that's going to continue to move its way to the east, bringing us some more cooler conditions, bringing us some more active activity in terms of rainfall. That's the 28th. So this is Tuesday. And look at this huge ridge that's building over here inside of the west. They're getting warmer conditions. They're getting more nicer conditions as we get into the middle parts. And then we see kind of like a little zonal flow state to where we have kind of like a neutral atmosphere to where we're seeing just regular horizontal lines. But more systems are going to try and move its way through. More cold blasts are going to try to move its way through as we get more and more into May. And it's going to be kind of just this system of over and over conditions as we get more and more into May, and just more active, active conditions, storms moving through one after the other, which may bring a severe weather threat. Maybe not to us, but definitely to other places, which is why they already have a day 5 or 6 risk right now in terms of severe weather just to our west in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee. So that's for next week. But that's pretty much all that I have to say here in terms of the long-term future. So let's go ahead and talk with the audience. If you want to be a part of the audience, you can by joining us here at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see what the audience has to say for tonight. Starting off with Malu, who was here first tonight. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you. Hopefully everyone has had a blessed day. Well, thank you so much for that. Mr. Chris says, good evening, everyone. Hope you had a great day. Well, I did. Thank you so much for that as well. Got to around 74 degrees here at Moncks Corner. Then my Aunt Lewis says, today in Georgetown, we had a chilly day at first. Well, thank you so much for that weather report. Today's high was around 68 as well. And currently they're at 59. Well, at my house right now, it looks like it is currently... let me go and get it up. Here it is. Currently, it's around 58. High temperatures for me today was around 75. Now, as we continue our way down, Ms. Chris says currently 62. Thank you so much for that weather report. And then Milo says Georgetown was windy today. Mr. Chris says, seriously thinking about cutting grass tomorrow if it's not too bad. Yeah, tomorrow, some 80s, but other than that, no rainfall, nothing like that. My name says, hello, Jay, and all, a nice warm day. Well, thank you so much for that weather report for where you were. Then my cousin Cheryl says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, weatherman. I hope you had a wonderful day. You all, it was chilly in Philly this morning, but I went to the doctor, but by the end of the day, it was beautiful. Well, thank you so much for that weather report for where you are over there inside of Philadelphia. Then Mr. Chris says, we're okay, just feeling a little bad due to the cold going around. Well, hopefully you do feel better, especially as we get more and more into this warmer weather stage. But I know, obviously, this flip-flop of weather is not helping at all. Please let that rain move this way. We definitely will see some this weekend. I actually do think that that's the system right there that's going to try and move its way over into the east towards us. Then Maya Lewis says, we started out cool this morning. However, later on in the day, it got warmer. 80 sounds great for tomorrow. And then Thad says, hello, just from the 360 Weather family. It was a beautiful rainy day here today inside of San Antonio. One unfortunate event from the rain was my gutters were clogged with leaves. And then also I had to get up on the ladder, take apart a piece of the system, get those leaves out. It was still raining as I was clearing the clog, but at least I got it done, and the gutters are flowing smoothly now. Got up to around 65 degrees today. No sunshine, but we are thankful nonetheless. Well, yeah, the amount of rainfall that y'all got, that's definitely going to put a dent inside of that drought. So I'm kind of excited to see what's going to happen for that drought over there inside of San Antonio. Just because of, kind of just all the rainfall that has fallen over there. Trail says, greetings everyone, beautiful day here. Well, thank you so much for that. Milo says, no rain tomorrow, so I'll get to prepare my garden. It's great to know that rain is on the way, though, absolutely. One thing I can report is the new umbrella works like a charm. Well, I'm glad to hear that. I remember when you finally said that you first bought it. Then as we continue our way down, yes, that's my plan to get my garden ready before the rain comes. That's why I wanted to cut grass tomorrow. Then Mr. Chris says, just in case the grade score is 15, in case of the tie on the top fan. Well, not tonight. I'm going to randomly just pop it out here and there, just, to see what happens. So that's why you always should be paying attention, because you never know what incentives I may put in to say, hey, if you were paying attention and if you can answer this question first, maybe an award going around. You never know. So that's why you always got to be here, and you got to be here early too, because I may say it early on. So that's it's gonna be a surprise. It's gonna be a surprise. So y'all don't know when it's gonna happen. And then that's all that I can see here for the chat for me for tonight. So let's go on and talk about the 4 areas outside of South Carolina. You might be asking 4 areas. What am I talking about? I'm talking about San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh, North Carolina, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as well as Duncan, Oklahoma. The reason why we talk about these 4 areas is because we have people from these areas who tune in almost nightly. And because they tune in almost nightly, we go on and give them their forecast for them. Starting off with San Antonio first, you have low temperatures tonight at around 66, high temperature for tomorrow at 80, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 67. Now we're talking about a slight chance of showers tonight with patchy fog as you go into tonight, going into tomorrow morning. No precipitation tomorrow night though, so you're good there. Severe weather and excessive rainfall for you at this point. I mean, honestly, you've been getting multitude of days of rainfall as you continue throughout like the next couple of days or so, but severe weather wise, you're actually good. Excessive rainfall wise, it looks like that you are also good as well. Now, what about if we go on and check out your future? Well, future wise, it looks like that you're going to continue temperatures to stay up into the 80s, maybe even get up to the 90s as you go into this weekend. And then as we get into the more later parts of next week, still going to be up into the 90s. I will say though, that really after you get through tonight going into tomorrow, your rain chance is going to significantly decrease. You're talking about dry conditions Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So hopefully you did enjoy that rainfall while you had it, because your rainfall threat is definitely going down. Now, what about for Raleigh, North Carolina? You have low temperatures tonight at 46, high temperature for tomorrow at 67, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 50. Slight chance of showers tonight, and then there is a chance of showers tomorrow morning as well. Now, what about for your severe weather, for your excessive rainfall? You do have a bit of a fire weather risk as you go into tomorrow, so make sure that you're not burning anything as you go into tomorrow. Excessive rainfall wise, nothing there. And for your future, it kind of just looks like that you are going to continue to kind of just stay normal. I mean, we're talking about as you get more into the weekend, you're talking about 50% chance of rain on Saturday, also on Saturday night as well. And actually, that is one mistake that I accidentally did put. But there is no precipitation. I probably should have emphasized that. Hold on, let me go in and fix that real quick. That was actually supposed to be for Philadelphia. Philadelphia, that's that one. But in terms of everything else, no precipitation. Going to continue to stay pretty dry for you, especially as you get all the way into going into next week. Now, Philadelphia, obviously, there's going to be a bit of a mishap because I accidentally switched the two, which I do regularly, so I got to go in and kind of calm that down and make sure. But as we go more into Philadelphia, you're talking about low temperatures tonight at 46, high temperature for tomorrow at 67, then low temperatures tomorrow night at 50. Precipitation is possible tonight. Slight chance of showers there. Then tomorrow, there is a chance of showers there tomorrow morning, going into tomorrow afternoon. Now, for your severe weather, excessive rainfall, looks like that you're good. And then in terms of your future, just in general, I mean, you have a chance of rainfall all throughout the weekend. So make sure that you are aware of that as you go all the way through Sunday, then as you go all the way through Monday night, going into Tuesday. And temperatures for you are going to continue to kind of go up. I mean, you're talking about Thursday, 75, Friday, 66, Saturday, 52. So your temperatures are going to continue to kind of go up, but then down. And then it's going to go up again as you go more and more into next week. And then finally for Duncan, Oklahoma, low temperatures tonight at 56, high temperature for tomorrow at 77, and then low temperatures tomorrow night at 64. No precipitation is expected until around Thursday, and for the most part, severe weather is definitely possible for you as you have a marginal risk of severe weather for Thursday, April the 23rd. You have a 5% Sig 1 hatch risk of severe weather, meaning that you have a 5% risk of severe storms happening, and there is a potential that some of those storms could be significant. And then you're not done. Saturday comes along, and then you have a severe weather risk. Same thing on Sunday. So you still have to watch out for that severe weather risk, as we have that multitude of days of severe weather as you go into this weekend, going into next week. Temperature-wise, you're going to kind of just stay up into the 80s as you go more into Thursday through Saturday, all the way into Tuesday of next week. And that's it for the areas outside of South Carolina. So let's see what's going on throughout the entire state of South Carolina, the entire 4 areas, and just the entire country in general, as the Pacific storm will continue to bring low elevation rainfall and mountain snow to much of the west through Wednesday, with heavy mountain snow expected in the higher elevations of the Sierra Nevada. This system will also bring strong winds to the Intermountain West, the Rockies, and the Plains, which will create critical fire weather concerns for the high plains. Also, we do have a bit of a fire weather activity going on over here in the southeast, which we do know. And then severe weather-wise, because I think that's what most people are talking about right now, we have a multitude of days of severe weather that's coming in as we go more into tonight. We had a confirmed tornado inside of California a bit earlier. I think that has since gone away. But then as we go into tomorrow, there's emerging risk over there for Lubbock, Texas, Rapid City, South Dakota, Dodge City, Kansas. These areas have a chance of damaging winds and hail. And then day 3, this is really where things start to start as we get into Thursday. Kansas City, Omaha, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Springfield, Missouri, Des Moines, Iowa. These areas have a chance for severe weather on Thursday. But then Friday comes along. We're still not done Friday. Dallas going into Little Rock, Arkansas, Irving, Texas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, going near Springfield, Missouri. They have a chance of severe weather on that being Friday. Saturday, Dallas, Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, going all the way up into Wichita, Kansas, down to Austin, Texas. They have a risk of severe weather going into Saturday. And then we're still not done, because on Sunday, Dallas, again, Fort Worth, again, Oklahoma City, again, going into Little Rock, again, Missouri, in Springfield, again. So all of these areas are just continuing to see more and more severe weather as this severe weather train continues, and we're still not done. Day 7 on Monday, it moves east, and it moves close to South Carolina. I mean, you're talking about Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, going on to Chattanooga, Tennessee, down into Nashville, going into Jackson, and then also over here inside of Bowling Green, Kentucky. Those areas have a risk of severe weather on Monday. And so what will that conclude for us over here in South Carolina? Only time will tell at this point, but we'll get there once we get there. That's all I have to say for tonight. Top fans of the night, though, seem to be, as I'm going to count them up for tonight, got a lot out here. I see around 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I see 14, then I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I see 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it seems like that my Aunt Lula did get number 1 for tonight. 8, yep. And then Mr. Chris got number 2. Thad got number 3. So congratulations to the 3 of y'all for being the top fans of the night for tonight. If you want to be a part of the top fans, you can by joining us here at 9 o'clock p.m. early. Also being a subscriber, because if you're not a subscriber, you can't type. And then also going on and hit the share button. Share with your friends, your family members, your acquaintances, people that you don't talk to regularly, as that may also bring in some more competition for us. And then I think that is all here. Let me check out the chat. Thad says we have to be grateful because we know that the summer is going to be brutal. Then I have to get to check on my children in California. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the severe weather threat over there, it's still technically going on, but it's not a whole lot. There's just this one little storm over here just to the east of Fresno, but I mean, there's no rainfall going on. And that's all that I can see here. So make sure to hit the subscribe button, 729, getting to 800. And I will be back tomorrow morning with your Wednesday morning forecast update. Also tomorrow evening, for your Wednesday evening forecast update. Everyone have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday.